like you would think that these bad guys would learn by now. If we build something really, really big, and that'll make the good guys run away. Kaboom. Well, let's build the same thing again. Kaboom. Well, let's build it bigger this time. And guess what? It's gonna, instead of wiping out one planet, it's gonna wipe out a whole bunch of planets. Still gonna be a big ball of stuff. And it's gonna eat up a sun too, which I don't know how that works.
And it still got blown up in what, 30 X-Wings and the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah.
That's
didn't even last. Well, neither did the original Death Star. But
that was the same thing, right? It was about 30 X-Wings attacked the original. Well, 30 X-Wings plus a few Y-Wings was the original attack in the Death Star, right?
Yeah,
about the number.
But the time before, they didn't have an infiltration team, though.
True.
So that was different. If you're counting differences.
But they had an infiltration team in Return of the Jedi, technically. It wasn't on the Death Star, but it was on the support facility that powered the shield of the Death Star.
The second Death Star, yes, because, in that type of scenario, they were creating, like, how many battles at once happening at the same time?
There's about 3 going on there. The space battle, Endor, and Luke and Vader and things.
Then they tried to up it, I think, with the Phantom Menace. How many battles were happening at the same time?
There was a couple.
Maul,
at least 3.
Maul, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. Then you have...
those 2, yes.
You have droids against Gungans. Then you have droids against... what's the name? Nabooians, or whatever their names are.
That was all kind of...
Padme, the Palace Guards.
I guess, yeah, because they were trying to race the Palace Guards were fighting the same time that the lightsaber battle was going on.
Then the spaceship battle happening. And then Anakin's own personal battle with his own spaceship, trying to figure out how to use it.
Oh, yeah, that scene.
And then...
I hate those scenes.
And then... I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
For some reason, I've never been a fan, science fiction-wise, of those scenes where it's somebody who doesn't know what they're doing is doing better than the trained pilots who are the amazing, high-quality, awesome soldiers, and they're getting blasted to pieces.
Well, as far as I know in that book, actually, they're volunteers.
Still, they should have someone training how to fly their freaking fighters, and this little kid's doing better than them.
We didn't hit it. Wait, it's blowing up from the inside. We didn't hit it. Well, maybe you should have thought about hitting it from the inside.
Yeah. Anyway, want to start the show?
I think we already did.
I think we kind of did. We probably should have a formal intro for this. People know what the heck they stumbled onto.
Oh, if they don't know already, then they're just going to go away.
Okay. Well, I will do some sort of an intro then, and we'll hopefully make it good. And
some sort of
intro. So this guy over here is Ryan, in case you didn't know by now. And I'm Jason, and it's 2017, which means this is the 10th time we can wish you guys all a Merry Christmas on the Tabletop Battlefield.
And you didn't mess up.
I didn't, yeah, no. I was like, holy cow.
Woot!
I think it
Yay
must be
for the 10th anniversary episode.
Perfect.
Yay.
Yeah. So I think it must be all my Twitch live streams I've been doing, my practice of making stuff up on the fly, and I actually got an introduction for the first time right on the first try in 10 years. It's kind of embarrassing when you think about it.
No, it's not. It takes time.
Granted, yes, it takes time. It takes practice.
It takes a lot of time. Yes. I mean, think about when we first got started. I could barely let out a sentence without going, and then I'm going to say something else.
This kind of stuff, people don't know, is surprisingly difficult. To carry on a conversation with somebody else or hear for about half an hour, go between a few record segments, is not easy to do. It's even harder when you're live streaming for 45 minutes by yourself trying to talk. That's even more difficult. But
yeah, I haven't live streamed in a couple months too. It's working all that. But anyway,
we'll talk about that more because half this show is self-promotion. Mm-hmm. But in case you somehow still haven't figured out what this is, we want to welcome you guys officially to what would have been the end of the 10th anniversary of the Tabletop Battlefield. I'm Jason, the creator of it. Ryan's been here since almost the beginning.
Yo.
And I don't know, we'll make up something for the next half an hour or so. We do have some recorded segments coming up. This guy sitting right in front of us here, this is the giant Lego UCS Rebel Snow Speeder. And we did a nice speed build. Oh, wait a minute, my phone's on. Let me turn that off for you guys. And once again, we're going down the embarrassing route.
Should we turn our phones off?
Yes, you should turn your phone off too. It would be They're nice to do, but you never know. Ryan's also already breaking a few rules here, at least one very important rule. Would you show him what you have next to you on the stand over there that you're not supposed to have in the show ever?
Well, I'm not going to do product placement, but it is an energy drink. It's not open, though. I probably won't even open it.
But yes, we all know Ryan got banned for doing energy drinks a long time ago, but
I don't care.
You don't care. That was 8 years ago. Those are old rules. No one cares anymore.
And a different kind of energy drink. That energy drink I had, that was the only time I had it, and never had it again. And anyway,
and it's also nothing for you to draw on to draw obscene things. So you have a pen, you have some paper.
Be careful what you say.
Yes, be careful what I say.
Be careful. I could just start scribbling, and I won't know what I'm writing because it's just facing the camera and not facing my face, and all those squiggles might be subliminal.
Yes.
Subliminal.
Whatever the darn messaging.
Yes, thank you. Whatever
when you start
the
scribbling down things, you're going to see something in there that may not intended to be there. Maybe a planet, but it looks like something totally different.
And then Jason will have to rotoscope fudge it all out.
It looks horrible. Look at my face.
What are you doing? You're ruining my show.
Way back in the archives. I think that was season 2. If you guys don't know what that joke is referencing, it's literally 9 years ago. It was one of the episodes of this show that, oh my goodness.
It's about as well known as flower cups,
It is, yes. I was looking for the flower cups. They're around here somewhere.
Oh, they are?
I think I still have them in my the ones you gave me on the show are still up there. I think you gave the one to Kyle.
For Christmas time a few years back.
A few years back you gave them to us. Yeah,
I'm talking about the original flower cups.
Oh, the original flower cups.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever happened to those. That was I don't know what happened to those.
Well, I don't think they were our flower cups.
Yeah, they're probably one of my roommates. But anyway, okay. So let's do this. So we try to have some kind of semblance of something going on here with this show.
Uh-huh.
Why don't you, Ryan, talk about what you've been up to for the past year?
Yay.
Because I can tell you do that first, and I'll tell you very quickly what I have not been doing this year, and I'm holding it up right here. But what have you been up to this year, Ryan?
Okay. Well, this year, actually very, very, very exciting. Personally, health-wise, because I tell everybody this every year, I am doing, I'm as healthy and I feel as good as I have ever felt since I was first diagnosed with my illness at 11 years old. So I am just feeling fantastic. Over the summer, me and my wife went to a few places, vacationed, and it was without any worry, any stress of having, we'll have to go to the hospital, will I have, this trouble or that trouble. Nothing like that. It was just really fun summer. We actually went to see, just to interject this in here, we went to see the ARC exhibit in Kentucky.
Oh, okay. Yes, I've heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun, just seeing just that massive structure. I mean, as it's described in the Bible, and it's just like, whoa, yeah, that has a lot of room. But anyway, besides that, I've been working on Tales of Valhalla, of course. Gotten the seasons.
I figured that would come up.
Yep, seasons 2 and 3. Scripts written out, and I've been trying to be as active as possible in my YouTube channel, but at the same time, been getting a lot of voiceovers done, redoing voiceovers.
Which channel is that? You got 6 of them.
This is the only active channel I have right now, so I'm not going to mention any of the others right now.
Okay. I remember last year, you had your social feed out. Okay, here's this.
I mean, there's still a lot of things that I'm at, but as far as YouTube is concerned, only Tales of Valhalla you have to worry about currently. And it's we got about 80 subscribers so far, almost 5,000 views overall on the channel, and that's just with the first season out, along with some introduction videos introducing some of the characters. Some of those are pretty funny, about a minute or 3 long. And still have a few more that I need to dish out, that I need to edit and create. And the beginning of this year, spent a lot of time creating it took me about 6 months worth of time just to get all the scenes shot for stop motion for season 2, episode 1, season 2, because there are battles and scenes involving literally hundreds when I say hundreds, I mean hundreds.
Hundreds of miniatures in like a single frame.
Miniature figures, yes.
That's intense.
Lot of battle scenes, because what I want to do is show basically just the story behind what the story we're currently in this universe, and so giving a little backstory, some action at the very beginning. And if you want to see some of those shots, actually I have some of the raw footage from one of the videos I released about a month ago showing an update of what I've been doing. And it has some of those raw photo shots. So go to Tales of Valhalla on YouTube, and I'm sure Jason, I can give Jason a link to show you guys. And hopefully by the end of the year, although my plans could change, I'm not going to say why right now, but hopefully by the end of next year, we'll start getting season 2 out and going, and then season 3 the following year or the year after. But yeah, it's been a lot of work for doing stop motion, working with voice actors. Have about like 30 or so people that are doing one or the other voice actors, or some of us are voicing multiple characters as well. So it's just been a lot of work doing that this year. And then as another thing as well, I got a part-time job, so that takes up more of my time. But at least allows me to earn some money now, so I can start saving up for things like a good working computer and stuff. Because I won't be able to edit season 2 and 3 to the scale that I want without some good software, without some good paid for software like a good HitFilm Pro, as well as a good computer to put the software in, and upgrading my stuff. So it's just. It could take some time for that, but I'm trying to make plans in order to get all that stuff done so it's out in time. But in the meantime, just go ahead and if you can, subscribe on that page. There's still a lot of great things on there. There's a lot of behind the scenes videos. I do live streams when I can. When it comes to live streams when I'm animating, or live streams when I'm building via the Virtual Escape page, which you basically digitally build your HeroScape battlefield. And so I've been doing that a lot lately too, in order to figure out, okay, this is what this scene is going to be doing. And as of right now, I have, and I was just looking at this today actually, I have about half of season 2 done for stop motion. And so I still have another half to do for that, and hopefully I'll get that done this winter. But it's just a lot of work, and I already am like, okay, I'm already behind in it, but just keep on tugging away, and eventually it'll get there. But I mean, so far that's the most active channel I have on YouTube, so I'm just going to keep on doing that, and it's been a lot of fun. I know, me and Jason, we've already done our voiceover lines for some of the characters, but we'll probably have to redo them because I messed up.
Fantastic.
Yep. So.
It's kind of fun to do that stuff.
In a small nutshell, that's kind of what's happening this year. But overall, very, very positive year. It's been one of those awakening years, and I just hope it gets better and better as the years progress.
So for me this year, as I mentioned last year on the Christmas episode, I was going to release a new version of Legends of Caladagia. That's my space combat miniatures game. And that got released early January as planned. I made a few tweaks throughout the year, changes some of the movement mechanics, but I've got a really solid game that I enjoy, and I'm proud to get that out and released. I'm now still adding more miniatures to it. I've been redoing the entire miniature line for the past 2 years. The last miniature that needs to be redone is actually sitting behind me in my Twitch studio over here. If you guys have watched the Caladagia videos, you'll have seen that one. That'll be for sale pretty shortly, and therefore I can move on to some new stuff. So that's a big thing for the Caladagia things. I've been doing a lot of Twitch live streaming, just kind of playing around with that and kind of practicing this whole rambling on and on for 45 minutes, trying to say stuff that's more or less coherent for 45 minutes. Like I said, it's not easy to do.
There's a time or two I join him.
There is, yes. I've been on a few times. And there's some of those videos, I think, whatever happened to those videos? If they're not on my YouTube channel, let me know. I'll put them up there. I think they are.
I don't go over all those videos because you're talking about 45 minutes. Do I have that time? No. I don't have that time. I can't even go through videos I want to go through. Oh,
yes.
I shouldn't say that. Not that I don't want to go through Jason's videos. It's just I don't have that time.
That's all right. I don't really care.
Bad choice of words.
Bad choice of words, but no. I don't know. I don't expect anyone to sit there and watch through a lot of those. But on live streaming for Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Rocker Robotics. Same username as I have here over on YouTube. I've been doing a lot of painting of some miniatures. So this year I painted up Kairos Fate Weaver sitting right here. He came out back in January. He's
That was really cool.
One of the really absolutely amazing miniatures from Games Workshop. I absolutely love this guy. And then I've got the one I just finished over here. This is Cypher. He's really tiny to see at the moment. He came out back in March. One of the other miniatures from Games Workshop, just before the release of Warhammer 40,000 8th Edition, because of course this is 2017. So the big game, what should be the big game for anyone who's played Warhammer, like me, would be Warhammer 40,000 8th Edition. And I, of course, got the index to go with it because I play Tau Empire. And what I have not played is Warhammer 40,000 8th Edition. Honestly, I really just don't have any desire to play this game anymore. I've watched a bunch of battle reports. Nothing there really interests me. It's not the same game it was 10 years ago when I started playing.
What's changed, Jason?
The biggest thing there's a couple things they've changed. They've made the army construction a much more free form. So what that does is it lets you create much more powerful armies than you ever could before. So which can create a much more imbalanced game. Granted, 40K has never been great with game balance, but they threw it out the window in 6th edition. They kind of, or 6th edition, they kind of started throwing it out the window. 7th edition, which is gone altogether. They brought it back a little bit with 8th edition, but it's still very flexible what you can do. So you can very easily get get very lopsided games pretty easily, which aren't particularly a lot of fun when you play a 3-hour game of paper, rock, scissors. The game has been getting bigger and bigger, and how long it takes longer and longer to play. And it seems like you watch these battle reports, and what was originally designed to be a 6-7 turn game, it now seems to be over oftentimes in 3 turns. So even though it still takes 3 hours to play the game, it feels like they just amped up the violence to kind of reduce how long the game takes to play, and it's not exactly what I really want to see. They got rid of any kind of battlefield psychology. This is a very general terminology in game mechanics that represents troops running away, troops panicking, and doing something different because they're in a stressful situation. All that happens in 8th edition and also Age of Sigmar, their fantasy game, is just guys die faster when they start failing psychology rules. Whereas in other games, the unit will physically move in the tabletop somewhere else. They may be pinned in place to where they can't actually react, so you take them out of the game for a turn or two. So there's a very different kind of damaging kill mechanic than straight up outright just massacring troops, right? So there's 2 different ways to kind of negatively impact your soldiers in other games, but not so much in this anymore. And I think that takes away a lot of tactical options. Their army building is moving very, very close towards War Machine. A lot of games in general are doing this, where they're moving very heavily in the direction of the term I want to use is the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. So if you think about it like in terms of collectible card games, like Yu-Gi-Oh, you're familiar with that. Mm-hmm. There's definitely a big power boost in how you assemble your deck. Like, the same 60 random cards is not going to be the same as 60 cards that are assembled together to where they all benefit from each other, and they power builds on top of each other.
Sure.
There's always been elements of that in a lot of these games, but it's being ramped up more and more. War Machine is very famous at this. Everything is broken, so everything's in balance. And a lot of games are moving in that direction. I don't personally enjoy that as much for tabletop gaming because it tends to create much more imbalanced games where it becomes less focus on what happens on the game and much more focus on what happens before the game starts. I prefer the games where, depending on how you move your characters around in the tabletop, is really what determines, whether you're going to win or not. Sure, there's going to be some, power coming from a list building perspective, but that's not going to be the majority of the tactics. And games are moving in that way. Warhammer 40,000 is moving in that way. Fortunately, put that out of the way, there's this game here, which is absolutely fantastic. These are some of the guys from Beyond the Gates of Antares. Of course, this is by the famed game designer Rick Priestley, who created Warhammer 40,000 all those years ago.
So he walked away from it and was like, I'm going to make my own thing.
Yeah, he left Games Workshop a number of years ago. I don't know the details of what happened there. Some people say he was forced out. Some people say he left on his own, fruition, whatever it was. I don't know. There's also stories about that. But he left, founded Warlord Games, created Bolt Action, which was a World War II game, kind of a little bit squad-based game. And then Beyond the Gates of Antares is basically the sci-fi version of that. So it took a World War II rule set. You can take a look at that guy. Added, robots and laser cannons and things like that.
True.
So you're pretty much playing a sci-fi version of World War II. And it's absolutely fantastic because all the things that I talked about Warhammer 40,000 not having, this game has. It has a very cool suppression mechanic where you can pin enemy troops down and take them out of the battle for a turn or two. It has alternative activations, which, granted, with alternative activations where, it's like you go back and forth, like Hero Escape, one player activates and they go back and forth, you activate everybody. That's less efficient compared to, say, Warhammer 40,000 where you move your entire army at once, but it allows for much more interesting things on a tactical level because it forces you to think a little bit more about what you want to do and really balance the importance of different actions. And I really enjoy that a lot better. Storyline-wise, compared to 40K, they're kind of the same. They're very different. There's some interesting ideas beyond the Gates of Antares. I still love the 40K universe. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like the game anymore. That's why I still paint the miniatures. The miniatures are amazing. I still got my cosplay for 40K. This is my armor for my Tau Fire Warrior. I've been upgrading that. Whoops. So
Don't break it.
Don't break it. Yeah, no. Hey, this thing breaks all the time. Oh my goodness. Cosplay is just so fragile. But that's my whole anti-Warhammer 40,000 rant. Well, not really anti-40,000. It's just I just don't like the game anymore. That's really what it comes down to. Like I said, I still love the story. It's a fantastic story. Just having the new rule book to read the 200 pages of fluff was fantastic. I love doing that. But anyway, let's take a little break here to jump into our first recorded segment, which was myself, Ryan, and Kyle. Kyle, unfortunately, can't be here tonight. We all did our best to see how fast we could build this monstrosity in front of us here, the Lego UCS Rebel Snow Speeder. It's about 1,750 pieces. So, do you have any... Let's run the video right now. If there's any fun stories you want to talk about, we'll talk about when it comes back. So let's watch this little speed build here. You should have the Snow Speeder memorized inside out, all the technical details of it, with all the Star Wars knowledge you've accumulated over the years.
No, I forgot it all once the Phantom Menace came out. I purged my memory.
First memory core deleted.
I used to know everything.
Ryan's telling me I suck right now.
It's not... I didn't think it was humanly possible.
That I suck?
And blow.
I knew that was coming. That's a classic Simpsons line there. I was well aware that was going to be a thing.
We have a lot of catching up to do, and it's like a Hoover Dam exploding. It's just gonna be like.
And by catching up,
speaking of Hoover Dams, how's your Hoover Dam?
and by catching up to do, they mean give Jason tons of hell because that's all they ever did when they were together.
I thought that was every time I hung out with you.
Well, yes, that is every time you hang out with me. He
I
doesn't make anything better.
No, I just encourage him.
Yes, we do.
We do our best to be double the fun.
You can start. Let me go ahead here.
And do nothing. Why are you ripping
Why?
out? Why would you rip that out?
What just
What
happened?
is wrong
What
with you?
the hell just happened?
Why are you ruining the book?
Good God!
So you guys,
You don't do that to Lego instruction manual book.
Yes, you do. It's perfectly fine.
No!
No, you don't do that.
You just ruined my childhood.
No, not only that is, he's going to somehow, this is going to go missing at stages 13, 14, and 15. He won't know how to build this again.
You can start working on parts of, you can start working on bag 2. I finished this bag up.
I'm violated for the rest of my life.
This is
childhood memories of
this
Lego
is a
building
perfectly valid tactic
No.
for Lego speed builds is a dismantled instruction manual.
What would be
Well-
better is if we just brought tablets, which had the already instruction manuals on there, and then two people could look at the tablet while the third person looked at the book.
You could have taken a photograph. I could have taken a photograph on my phone. I could have taken a photograph
There's
on my phone.
so many
that-
different
that would've
ways
been-
that you could have
Is this
done it.
available online? Get on your phones and bring it down if it's online. Bring it
I'm
down.
saying I could take a photograph on my phone. I could just look on my phone, smaller space. You just ripped the page without discussing. It was like
Well, this isn't a democracy here.
murdering a puppy.
One, this is my Lego kit. I bought this one, so if I want to mangle the book, I'm gonna mangle the book. But yes, you may.
And you ripped off 2 pages.
I did rip off 2 pages.
You ripped off 2 friggin' pages. Just
Well-
please don't make another Star Killer base, okay? Don't do that.
Even bigger one.
Yeah, we don't want an even bigger one.
They'll make one on the star itself because then they can just drain it immediately.
Just
You know,
don't make
off
the
of the
same-
star.
Don't make the
You know,
same
they don't have
damn
that
thing.
problem of having to be near a star. They're on the star itself.
If they do make the same damn thing, I'll probably walk out.
We're starting to get the basic shape of the snow speeder going. This is the stand for later. That's already done. Kyle's putting together, looks like some of the front armor things that I'll end up on at some point. So I guess finish up bag.
Are they calling an air speeder on there, though?
I don't know what they call it. What do they call it?
An air speeder.
T-47 air speeder. I don't know. Is that what officially its actual vehicle designation
Changed
is?
name.
Jeez.
Well,
just use the word
this is
speeder.
updated. Remember the snow speeder? They update everything, so the snow speeder is an air speeder.
What did the box say? I thought the box said snow speeder. It does. The box does say snow speeder.
So they themselves are confused.
I don't know. Let's see here. What is a T-47 air speeder? Is that technically what it's supposed to be called? I really don't know. According to StarWars.wikia.com, the T-47 air speeder, also known as the T-47 light air speeder, was a model of a low-altitude vehicle manufactured by Incom Corporation. When the Alliance to Restore the Republic was stationed on the icy planet of Hoth, a contingent of T-47 air speeders were modified to become ground attack low-altitude fighters called snow speeders.
So their snow speeders are modified from the air speeder.
But this is a snow speeder.
Yes, so technically it should say snow speeder because it's modified.
So what the hell is wrong with these people then?
I suppose technically T-47 air speeder is its official designation. The snow speeder is effectively an unofficial modification to it. So
They're not really aliens. They are aliens, but they're time travelers. I'm just like, insane.
already going old cranky on us. I remember the time when these Lego pieces were.
I remember the time back in the 90s. That was 100 years ago.
Where you'd walk uphill both ways.
I walk uphill both ways, and I was in the snow because I lived in Wisconsin at the time.
9.
7 through 9 are done.
We're making headway, basically, is what Jason's trying to tell us.
Yes. And I think I missed a sticker.
Oh, good. It's their cash cow. They're going to milk it until it's dead, and then it's going to turn into a horse, and they're going to keep on beating it.
Oh, well, he's turning it to beef and making it into hamburgers.
No, it turns into a
McDonald's
horse.
hamburgers.
It's yeah. They're gonna turn it into ham. They're gonna label it as beef after the dead horse.
hamburgers.
Hey, it could taste good.
That's actually no. That's like actually happens at a time where you hear like
Future
horse meat got into the world's beef supply somewhere.
Okay. You said 298.
No, I said okay. I said 292. I meant 291. I'm gonna step outside my balcony here and see if my car has not been stolen. I don't know how Kyle missed my car, but I parked on the other. I sometimes alternate sides of the parking lot, and maybe that's what threw you off.
That's how Ryan's orange car.
Hmm? Yeah, like anybody's going to steal that, and if they do, I'd be like, thank you.
Please.
Very
Please,
much.
probably can get more from insurance.
Let's see here. Clear.
Unless someone else is hitting the button at the same time as you.
This is a massive conspiracy. Some screwballs looking at me when I walk out of my apartment. You're gonna hit the button. They replace it with some other crappy car. So there you go. That was our video on the speed build of the Lego UCS Snow Speeder. I think all in all, it took us about 5 hours-ish to build the thing. I don't remember exactly how long it took. I have it written down in a notebook that I'm going to use for editing this show, but I'm not going to use it right now because I actually don't even know where it is.
It's right there, I think.
That is it. Yes, it's right over there. Thank you, Ryan.
I can grab it if you want.
This is just basically a list of all the parts where it's like, this could be funny. Cut this out. This is offensive. Don't include this. Yeah,
a lot of offensive.
There was a lot of that. We started off very early with the offensive stuff. I was like,
you see, this is what happens when it's just me and Jason. We're very boring.
Yes.
Okay, or it could be Jason and Kyle, and it can be very boring. But when it's me, Kyle, along with Jason, then all of a sudden we're energized, you know, and just
oh dear,
me and Kyle bounce off each other, then it bounces off Jason, and
it gets bad very, very fast.
It can get very adulting very fast.
This kind of pseudo.
What the heck?
Family
We're in
show
our
we try to run
30s.
here.
We're in our 30s for crying out loud.
Yeah. So that was, yep. So that was just my notes here, and we'll go ahead and toss that aside for now, because we could talk a little bit about next year. These some of the things I'm working on for next year. Because as I mentioned, I've been doing the live streaming on Twitch, and I've been putting those episodes, at least the rambling episodes, out to the Tabletop Battlefield's feed, because why not? You know, see what happens. But I've actually got another little kind of clip to run here, because another thing I'm working on is I finally after years, got a 3D printer. So bring myself into the modern tabletop game era world here. And I'm starting to produce a line of 3D printed terrain. At least that's the goal. We'll see how it goes. I've made an entire 3D printed arena for Arena Rex. That's a alternative history gladiatorial combat game. I'll probably put a picture of it up there. And I've got some pieces here for it. But I've got a nice little tutorial for you guys about how to deal with 3D printed terrain and go from addressing some of the issues with the print lines in the process, and then of course painting it up, and try to how to minimize a lot of the more issues you may run into with 3D printed terrain. So let's go ahead and run that right now. Let's take a look at how you prepare 3D printed models for painting and eventual inclusion in a terrain setup. First thing I want to look for is any kind of large noticeable print lines. You'll see here, for example, on this piece of the column, this is an area that has some very large noticeable print lines, little bits of gaps between each of the print lines. This is a very easy thing to address, and I can show you how to do that right now. Start by applying a few drops of super glue along the area where you need to reinforce the print lines. Then take another tool. For example, in this case, I'm using a plastic spoon, but any kind of non-brush utensil can work. And you just want to spread that super glue out across the entire area. Finally, go ahead and hit the super glue with some of the accelerant, and that will make it dry very quickly in place, giving this 3D printed area a nice hard shell. Using 100 grit sandpaper is a great way to start sanding down the areas you were just working on. If you want to get even more smoothed out surfaces, you can then go ahead to more finer grit sandpaper, but to be honest with you, for tabletop gaming terrain, that's not really necessary. With the rock floor piece, the Judgment of Osiris set, you're going to notice a series of concentric rings slowly going towards the center of the terrain piece. This is caused by the fact that 3D printers build these terrain pieces up layer by layer. To remove these rings, you're going to want to use some sandpaper. In this case here, I've got 60 grit, high quality sandpaper, and I'm going to use it to sand down these rings and give the overall terrain piece a little bit of slope from the center to the outside edges. So there you go, with only about a minute or two of sanding, you can remove the concentric rings, and then with a combination of that sanding plus primer as well as paint, it'll go ahead and hide any of the other effects that would show this piece was built in a series of layers. And in the end, it'll look great on your terrain setup. Let's talk about assembling your terrain pieces. For the Judgment of Osiris terrain set, you have three things that need to be assembled. 2 columns like this, and one large spire. For these columns, you need to align the top separation in the bricks along with the separation in the bottom of the brick. So you have a line going vertically along the column here in the top half, and you want to match it up with a line that goes along vertically here in the bottom half. First thing you want to do when it comes to assembling 3D printed terrain pieces is to just lightly sand down the two sides that you're going to go ahead and be gluing together. I'm laying down 100 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to go ahead and sand down the sides, and then I'm going to glue them together as I just mentioned about a little bit ago. So line the line here along the top with the one on the bottom and stick the pieces together and hold them there for about 1 minute. Please note that with this particular column, the idea was to go for the look of hand-cut quarried sandstone rock. You'll notice that the diameter of the top half does not exactly match the diameter of the bottom half. That was an intentional design feature to kind of capture that effect of hand-cut quarry sandstone. The other piece you need to assemble with your Judgment of Osiris set is your sandstone spire. And just like with the columns, there is a certain way these two pieces go together. So once again, you're lining up this line right here going down the middle of the top piece and the bottom brick with the line that's in the middle of 2 bricks down from the top on the bottom piece. As with the columns, you want to sand down each of the sides with 100 grit sandpaper just a little bit. Then apply some super glue to each of the two halves and then glue them together. Hold the two pieces together about 1 minute and you should be good to go. Also note that due to the fact that each layer of brick is a little bit smaller than one below it, the areas you're gluing together are not the exact same size. The bottom of the top half is just a tiny bit smaller than the top of the bottom half. Now, once again, that's intentionally done by design. For the priming step of any 3D printed piece, I like to use auto body primer. This not only gets a nice finish on the terrain piece itself, but many types of auto body primer are designed to fill small scratches. These types of primer then therefore work great at reducing the effect of 3D printed lines even further. When it comes to using auto body primers, it's very important to follow the instructions of the can. Each manufacturer has a slightly different process of how you apply the primer to ensure that the gaps are filled in to their maximum extent. Once Ryan is done yawning there, we can come back to the show. Thanks, Ryan. But yeah, so that was a little video about how to deal with 3D printed terrain. Possibly by the time this is up, I'm going to have some of these kits for sale on Etsy. So you can find links, if there are links in the show notes of the YouTube video, that's where you can find it. I've got a few of the kits ready to go. I got to do some more video work and things like that to get it all ready. But just something I'm experimenting with to possibly see how practical the business model is for selling 3D printed terrain and going from there. Because I'm going to be doing a lot more 3D printed work in the upcoming year. Because back to the whole Twitch live stream, I'm not only going to be painting miniatures. Next up, by the way, is the Swarm Lord, the Tyranid HQ. I'm going to be doing a lot more cosplay work as well. I've actually got a few pieces here from part of the costume I'm working on. Can't really tell what they are from a distance, but I'll tell you what they are. They're pieces of a Tau Empire pulse pistol. So I've got the old pulse pistol from my Fire Warrior costume right here. This was a more traditional foam and other construction method thing. And I actually went ahead and I used that thing there along with a picture of the actual bit from Games Workshop, and I made a much higher resolution 3D model of it. I broke it into parts, and I'm printing it out to assemble something about that size, but with a 3D printer. So I'm going to be doing a lot of work in the coming year with 3D printing and how it intersects with cosplay and tabletop gaming. And excuse me. So look for that over at twitch.tv/Rocker Robotics. Ryan came up with something. I don't know. He just told me a minute ago. I got an idea I want to talk about. So let's hope it's entertaining. If not, I can do the boring comment to him.
Yeah, when when you're talking about next year, so just talk about some things for next year. Of course, Tales of Valhalla, and at the very least, I don't know what I'll have released because there are a lot of new things that are going to be happening next year in my life. But at the very least, there's going to be a teaser and a full trailer for seasons 2 and 3. And so I can promise you, by the time we come around at this time next year and do for the 11th time, this episode, I'll have at least some type of trailer to show off to see what's going to be happening, because it's just, I mean, you don't see it very. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but you don't. Okay, well, at this moment.
There's really not a lot of real content of the show anymore, let's be realistic. Go right.
Okay, this is the show where we're tooting our own horn, okay? That's the title. So
That'll probably be the screenshot too.
there you go. But anyway, as I was saying, you do not see if even it comes to Warhammer, to Heroscape, these old or new miniature war games. You really don't see someone taking these figures and trying to like animate them stop motion wise. You see a lot of like cartoon animations for them. Sometimes, or even maybe there could be some live action stuff. I think there was something for Warhammer that was live action that was really, really cool.
There's been a few. Like there's been a good, really nice 3D animation one. There's been an interesting German independent movie. It's on YouTube, by the way. GW can't keep it suppressed. There's a whole story behind that one.
Yeah, but there's some good ones. Was that the one with the Gene Stealers?
Oh, that
Apart
one.
Everybody?
Okay, no, that was a stop motion animation one you're talking about, I think.
No, that wasn't stop motion animation. That was live. That was live action.
I don't know what he's talking about. I'm intrigued by this concept.
I got to find it for you then.
There's live action with Gene Stealers? Ooh.
I think it was Gene Stealers, I believe, or something like them. Anyway,
There hasn't been a live action Tyranid one, so I want to see this. Okay, there's probably something new out there. Cool.
Well, it's been a while since I saw it too. It had to been like a year or two ago. But anyway, I'll try and find that for Jason.
Let me interrupt Ryan one more time. Also this year, Privateer Press released a CG War Machine short that's absolutely fantastic, by the way. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. It's Captain Haley versus Denegra. Anyway, go back to your
Anyway, we're talking about filmmaking now.
we
so
did,
that's
yes. We
wonderful.
got in the filmmaking mode.
So you do not see it, and I encourage anybody out there who is a filmmaker and who loves wargaming. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm doing stop motion with Heroscape because over all the other miniature war games out there, it's relatively cheap to animate Heroscape figures. Any other figures, whether it be Warhammer or otherwise, you have to spend a crap ton of money to get all the figures you need. But if you got it,
$113.
if you have these figures already or know how to get them to animate with them, then I encourage you to do something to see just to see how like I'm not impressed me, but just to show me that it's like, okay, there's someone else out there doing it too, because there's just not many people. Well, I don't know, maybe it's because it's a lost cause and I'm just beating a dead horse that was never alive in the first place.
I don't know.
But I mean, the people that actually come across my content and what I've seen, what I've done, whether it be Instagram, and that link will be down below too, because usually, again, tooting my own horn, I'm on Instagram almost, if not weekly, daily, showing about what I'm doing for Tales of a Howl production via photographs and otherwise, or me animating, and sometimes little animation clips as well. And I lost my train of thought now.
You were talking about why no one does this.
Yeah, I know. I was coming to a darn good conclusion, and now it's totally
self-promotion dead end.
Anyway, no, but I encourage anybody, and I think this is where I was going. When I'm posting all this stuff, I just people are really impressed by what they're seeing, and that's why my subscriptions has gone up a little bit, and hopefully more by the time seasons 2 and 3 come out. And to eventually try and make something from this, and maybe start some type of movement or following where other people are doing this as well. Because I would love. I mean, I'm not impartial. I want to see someone else take like Heroscape figures or Warhammer figures or even Legends of Caldassia spaceships, because I might consider doing that sometime in the future. Just blow stuff. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Just they're flying and
Only someone's making a short film based on the Caldassia universe right now.
Stop motion. Talking about stop motion.
I like live action. It's what you like,
Yeah, well, yeah, I like live action too, but as far as stop motion is concerned, it's very time consuming, but it just...
Thanks for the plug, by the way.
Yeah, it just looks cool. But anyway, whatever it is, whatever be your cup of tea, whatever be your favorite game.
Here's a piece of resin for you. Thank you.
Animate it using stop motion, and please send it to us, send it to Jason so he can send it to me, or just go to Tales of Valhalla and you'll see the link on page, and I'll even leave my my email, conductorproductions. I think it's conductorproductionswork@gmail.com, and show it to me.
Show notes will be in the show notes.
And see what you got, because this is something I'm starting to get very passionate about. And even if I mean, I want to go beyond season 3 because there's things I want to do with zombies and maybe like Marvel heroes that were part of the HeroScape universe at the time, and other things that I'd love to do. But I want to see what all of you would have in mind too. So.
Because it would be interesting to see people use Warhammer miniatures to the level you do it. I mean, people are going to mention, just for the record, that Mini Wargaming has done Warhammer 40k stop motion animation, but not anywhere on the level that Ryan has done it. Theirs was more of...
Challenge.
It was more of... There was a comedy show, so it was basically... It was more of, hilarious lines with the occasional, few frames of movement here and there.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Go for it, yeah.
Too? Because it just got my mind thinking of something. One very awesome thing that happened in these last few months. I don't know if you remember, Jason, on HeroScapers.com, there used to be a HeroScape comic called The Adventures of Chadwick and Sven.
No idea.
Do you remember that?
Nope.
Okay. Well, this is for all your HeroScapers out there, all you people in HeroScape. On HeroScapers.com, you look up this comic, and this was out when HeroScape was still doing its run, to where this fellow decided to do like a comic strip, but use photographs of the actual figures and terrain. And Chadwick and Sven, they were a Viking and they were a Morrow fighter. And then eventually came a zombie, and I'm forgetting the zombie's name, but I think it was like Bob or something. The very cool thing is that I was able to contact the guy who made this and to get his permission to use these characters for Tales of Valhalla.
Oh, interesting.
And I did, and so I'm in communication with him sometimes, and one thing I'm very thrilled about is, not just characters that I create, but bringing in other people's ideas and creations and getting their permissions for it. And maybe, hopefully, I'm trying to convince him to maybe voice one of the characters as well. And he's already given me suggestions on how he wants the characters voiced. So I'm looking to see who would be best for that, and try and integrate these characters, if not the end of season 3, definitely into seasons 4, 5, and 6. So, excuse me, burping now. So that was one of the thrilling gaming things that happened to me this year. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's a nice little announcement.
Yep.
So I was going to say, because with the 40k miniatures, one thing that's really cool about them, especially the kind of line standard infantry guys, they're highly customizable. Plus, a lot of people magnetize them to swap out weapons and things. So you could actually do that to give a little bit of motion to the miniatures for stop motion animation purposes. Because the magnets are strong enough where you can move the arm a little bit each frame. So I don't know. I guess no one really wants to put that effort into it, as far as I know. I mean, there's a lot of fantastic Lego stop motion animation.
Oh,
pointing to some Lego guys that are behind the camera.
Oh yeah,
and some of those are incredible
because they're very mobile and easy to use. It's a bit. I mean, it's a bit more of a challenge when you're just using a figure that can't move at all, rather than just at its base. But at the same time, it's also simpler because all you have to use is moving at its base. So you got to learn how to be creative on how they talk, how they move, and how they would walk or run, and then
why they're stuck in one pose over the other.
I mean, they're just that's who they are. It's part of their universe. So you and what I like is the fact that people are still accepting of these characters, even though they're in a spot, and if they are posed a certain way, then you just create their character based off that pose. I mean, you just got to come up of creative ways in order to express, who that character is. If that character doesn't have a name and is just a regular infantry character, then give them a name and why they're posed that way. So, yeah, it's the fun thing, and I just challenge anybody out there, if you can do it, and please let me know. I'll be the first subscriber if you want to pursue that.
We'll see what happens. But I think, anything else you want to talk about this year?
I mean, like I said, it's been a great year, and it's great for once to actually have a year to where you're not really worrying about much. You're just enjoying life and building towards the future. So
That's definitely a good thing. It still seems crazy. It's been another year already, but you know, I wish time would slow down, but that doesn't ever happen, and nothing ever will happen.
We're not getting any younger. I say
No.
this every year, but we're definitely not getting younger anymore.
It was so 10 years ago was the end of the first season of the show. It's just mind blowing that it's been that long. That wow, 10 years has passed. You know, since almost 11 years technically. This would be the end of the 10th season. And had we still been doing the show? Which on a funny note about that, really quick before we sign off here. Because I was uploading one of the Twitch streams last night to the show, and I realized on the homepage it still mentions there's new episodes every other Thursday at 11 p.m.
Oh no!
Nope. Hasn't been
Well,
true for 7 years.
I think people have kind of shut off on that for a while.
I think so.
Probably dismissed that.
Though, oddly enough, when it was about 6 months ago, I happened to just check the download stats because I was switching over services for the downloads thing. Since we ended the show 7 years ago, in its entirety, all the different episodes combined had over 19,500 downloads. So I don't know why people are still downloading content from 7 years ago.
Thank you.
But yeah, they still are. So that's awesome, I guess. Even though it is almost all out of date and or terrible, especially when you go back to that first season stuff. But I think we've had enough for this year. So anyway, with one more last thing.
Question:
Yeah, go ahead.
Will Tabletop Battlefield ever return as it once was?
I always say maybe. Maybe it will, maybe not. It really depends on what happens. I mean,
Maybe when we're 70.
Maybe.
And we just don't give a crap anymore.
The angry old grumpy man edition. That's the time where we're yelling about Napoleonics and arguing over if the South could ever won the Civil War. And pretending to be generals from 300 years ago, all that kind of stuff. That's what happens to war gamers when they reach 70 years old. So
Could be a fun show.
it could be, actually. But I don't know. I always, every year, kind of say, maybe I'll bring the Tabletop Battlefield back in some original form. Maybe. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. We definitely need more time and money and space. So
I'll be honest with you guys. If you buy 3D printed terrain kits, that'll give me much more motivation to do it. One last bit of shameless self-promotion before I want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Hopefully 2018 is freaking amazing as it was in 2017.
absolutely.
So let's sign off here.
Okay, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Jason. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you again probably in about a year on the Tabletop Battlefield.